Welcome to Grandshelt Nights, podcast number 35. We're talking about the new Final Fantasy VII units, and we'll see if they can keep up with the competition. There's also a new trial type that we've just recently got, which includes the Easter Banner unit, Armageddon. Anyways, we
Well,
got Zeno here, not Zeno, Zero here, and Kuja to help us
Hello.
out.
hello.
So I guess we'll get started with Zach.
So he's a physical damage dealer. He's kind of stuck in between a chainer and a finisher. But his TMR is Buster Sword. It's 145 attack with 10% HP, 10% MP, and it's two-handed. It got buffed from JP, but I mean, honestly, they just slapped 10% HP and MP on it.
That's really
Which,
bad.
yeah, doesn't really help it much. See, the sad thing is, in JP, Buster Sword was better than Lionheart on Squall, and they buffed Squall's sword 10 attack to make it better when Squall came out. And they kind of, I mean, in my opinion, they didn't do anything to Buster Sword.
They should have given it
And
the
they,
same attack bonus that
mm-hmm.
at least gave the same attack bonus that
Yeah, and
Lionheart
then
got,
you could throw the other 10% HP and MP on.
and it would be a better weapon. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, again, and it would be okay for it to be a better weapon considering it's coming out 8 months later, or however long ago
almost a year,
Squall
Well,
came out. A year, yeah.
almost.
I
Not quite.
mean, considering that this is a TMR and the other one is an STMR, like Cloud Zone is an
No,
STMR.
no, no. We're
No,
talking
no,
about
we're talking about
Lionheart.
Squall.
Squall's
Yeah, Lionheart.
Squall's TMR has more damage
Then,
than this.
Mm-hmm.
no, I know. I'm talking about like in terms of the reference to the actual series. Remember, this is the
Oh,
starter sword, so it's not supposed to feel like it's that powerful, if that makes sense. You
well,
know?
yeah, I understand, but if you also look at it, like it's an iconic sword that was on Cloud.
Yeah, I mean it's Cloud's sword. I mean essentially everywhere you see Cloud, he's using the Buster sword. You don't have him. You don't see Cloud with Ultima weapon running
Actually,
Right.
around.
you
Anytime you see him,
you
you
do
see him
see
with
him with
Buster
the
sword.
ultimate weapon, but typically not very often.
Yeah.
Anyway, his STMR is actually significantly better. It's 40 attack when equipped with a great sword and 100% true double hand.
I mean,
So
basically,
that's a pretty solid TMR
it's
or
a
STMR.
massive update to Beatrix's STMR, which is 50% attack, true dual wield, with 50% greatsword damage.
Double hand.
Yeah, well, double hand 50% and 50% attack. Yeah, it's ridiculously stronger. It's kind of dumb how much stronger it is, but it is a much later unit, so can't
Oh
really
yeah,
complain
yeah.
about
I mean
that.
it's fine. Anyway, into his kit. I mean, he's okay,
He's got
I guess.
Octaslash, Divine Ruination, well,
And Meteor Rain and
Meteor Rain.
Graviton Cannon on cooldown. And honestly, the way I look at it, when you have a chaining family on cooldown that you cannot use otherwise, it's almost pointless.
Unless it's
Just,
one that you already have. Like if he had a Graviton Cannon somewhere else and the
yeah,
cooldown, it would be good. But it's really hard to
right.
use when you only have it on the cooldown. But there are
Yeah,
units that use Divine Ruination, Octaslash, and Graviton Cannon in the same kit. So it's not
yeah. Right. I mean,
completely
that's the only
awful,
way it would
but
work.
yeah. And
Otherwise, you're stuck using two Zax. But yeah, I mean, his kit's really basic. Also, I mean, his best move is his cooldown. It decreases fire, ice, and lightning
which is
only by 80, which
no,
is good. It's
that's
not great.
really good for three different resistance
Yeah,
downs. I mean, if you look at a lot of units,
100.
80% is pretty good for just getting one down, but it is a cooldown, so
And the problem with him is he has no ability to
imbue
imbue
himself.
himself.
Yeah.
So
He also, I mean, because of his lackluster chaining families, I would say he is a generation early in terms of he's going with Divine Urination Octaslash. That's kind of like the earlier chaining families. They're still
Yeah.
popular, but they're still like
Was
they're
Octoslash
again.
ever that popular?
Not
It,
really. I mean,
I
it's okay.
I think it
It's been a
is.
secondary
Oh,
I
chain.
think
I'm trying to remember who was all in the Octoslash family. That's my biggest problem. I don't feel like it was a very big family.
It
uh
was a decent size, but again, it was a lot of units that either didn't normally weren't damage dealers, or it was like the unit had
Was
divine ruination and octo slash, and their divine ruination ability was just way stronger, and you would never use octo slash. It was something like that.
well, so there was Prompto, um,
it's Olive. Sorry,
Sephiroth,
not there's not Olive.
Olive with Pod, so that
Yep.
doesn't count, in my
Okay,
opinion.
so that isn't it. Okay, so you have Goken, Prompto, Sephiroth, Roberta, Rayjack, Rico,
Rodriguez, not the other
Berg,
Rico.
yeah, Rico Rodriguez. Sorry.
I have no idea
Zardoz,
if I'm correct.
Lucius, Fravia, Alasperis. Well, yeah. Um,
Well, I mean, and again, the units that are good damage dealers you're rattling off all are that octo slash is not their primary chaining family.
Yeah, like for
That's I
example,
mean, and that's the ultimate problem with it is it's not anybody like it's a fairly common chaining family.
but it's more supportive type of change.
Yes, because like I mean, if it's like that, you have it like this, like octo slash for Zac, it's 2.5x with 50 ignore defense, which is okay,
yeah, it's not
but
bad. It's better than the Airstrike, the Divine Ruination. It's better.
yeah,
It's better than the Meteor Rain, truthfully, because Meteor Rain is 4.1 without the Ignore defense. Technically,
yeah.
Artislash is his strongest chaining family other than the cooldown. I mean, my biggest problem with Zac is just the fact that okay, I mean, you got LB fill rate for Divine Ruination, so if you're gonna use your LB, you're gonna be using Divine Ruination. Meteor Rain is if you're chaining with Cloud, but Cloud is not good. Sorry to anyone who likes Cloud in the game, but Cloud's not very good in this game right now.
You don't like Cloud?
I like Cloud in 7, but Kingdom Hearts Cloud is much better, and he's still not even that good right now.
No, he's
Octoslash
terrible.
is the only reason I ever use Octoslash is because I use Zargamoth. That's why I
Yep.
didn't realize how big the family was.
No, I mean again, it's a fine family, but it's a secondary attack. It's not usually a
Usually a
primary
primary.
attack.
I mean,
Like in this case, it's his strongest attack without using his cooldowns. But
which is weird.
yeah, in my opinion, he's more of just dealing with his LB, I guess, which is a five
where is
hit.
engraved hero, or is that
Thank
unlocked?
Engraved Hero is an unlockable. It's a 20 times multiplier where it's a one
Oh,
hit.
it's a yeah.
It's a finisher, which
It's also a
is
critical hit, which is nice.
yeah, which is extremely nice. Which is why I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. But like,
Yeah, so he's
his LB
not
is
a
really good at least
horrific.
too, because it's only five
Yeah, he's not a
hits rather than
yeah. He's not a
20.
yeah. I mean, he's not a horrific um, finisher, but he's pretty subpar on chaining
Yeah, he's a
families.
very subpar chainer, decent
And they didn't do
finisher.
it. I mean,
I mean, the biggest reason I
they,
think he's a decent finisher and not a great finisher is A, he can't imbue himself, so you need an
yeah,
outside imbuer to do a much more amount of damage. Uh,
yeah. Or
B, you're either relying on LB or unlockables, which I guess means so you have to go 2 turns.
it's fine.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's okay.
Yeah, it's just he's yeah, he's just fine. Nothing special. He does get the
Yeah, I
dual
mean, again,
cast.
he doesn't really stack up to the meta at the moment either. That's his main issue.
He should have gotten a bigger buff, I think.
You mean bigger than zero? Because he didn't get anything really in his kit.
He didn't. I
The
thought he
only
got a
buff,
minor buff.
I don't think so. I don't remember seeing anything, but I mean, I could be wrong. If he did, it's basically I don't see it. And I mean, it was really his Buster Sword that got buffed.
I don't think that got much of a buff in my opinion,
Anyway,
but that's
yeah.
me.
Anyway, I mean, this banner. I mean, well, I think the banner in general is just fan service, but Zac is 100% fan service because he's pretty bad for the current meta.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He doesn't hold up. The only thing has that, in my opinion, makes him good. If you're a whale, he's a good unit, and that's because his STMR is baller. But other than that, I wouldn't pull for it.
Does that make him a good unit or just a unit to pull
No,
STMR?
I said it makes him good for whales and nobody else, because whales can afford to pull 4 of them. Most people can't.
Sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to Yuffie, who's significantly better than Zac. Her TMR as a materia increases attack 30% without any, restriction, and then it's 20 more with close. So this is a pretty solid TMR
50% attack power.
yeah, as long as you're wearing clothes. So it's not restricting you to a weapon type. So the weapon type doesn't matter. It's just the armor type, and a lot of attack armors are clothes. So this is a pretty solid.
Yep, it's a very generalized 50%, which is nice.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and it also gives you 1 crystal per turn, which is pretty good.
Okay, yeah.
Her STMR is a two-handed throwing weapon, which has 172 attack power, 69 magic. Also comes with Bird Killer and Wrath Judgment.
Does she
Once
have?
she
I'm sorry.
once she crosses under 80%, she will buff herself of 120%.
Attack.
Or the attack or the user who's wielding this. Although I don't see many people really taking advantage of it
Except
outside of her.
for, yeah.
So the biggest question I have is why is there magic on it? Does she really have much magic ability in this?
I think it's
No.
just customary for throwing weapons to have some magic, so I think
Yeah.
that's why it's secondary on it.
I mean, I don't think she has any hybrid attacks, right?
I didn't think so. That's why I was asking.
No, she doesn't. She's
Does
just
she?
physical damage, but
She has no
I mean,
magical
it's a little
either.
strange, but again, ultimately, it doesn't really matter.
Nope.
The attack's high enough for it to be good.
Yeah,
It is good on her. I mean, Zero's right. It's hard to see really using it on anybody but her. One major thing with Yuffie is they had to essentially nerf fixed dice when she came out in global before she came out because it would have been stupid strong.
well, that's when they nerfed her in JP. The nerfed fixed size in JP when she came out because they were destroying
Yeah, I
everything
mean,
with fixed
I
size.
think they nerfed her after, right? It wasn't
They nerfed fixed dice right
they didn't
after.
yeah, because I don't think they realized how strong it was,
Nope, they didn't at all.
and then they're like, oh crap, she's coming in and literally dumping on every boss.
I was laughing because people would just take one Yuffie and just destroy Greg, Kai, in like 1 turn.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, I mean, can't Esther do the same thing?
No, it was worse with Yuffie at the time because of the fixed dice.
I mean, you might get more damage out of it, but you're still getting,
No, you can't
Greg
beat
dead
Greg
every
with one Esther.
well, not one Esther. I mean, you're
Right.
using 2.
Yeah,
Right.
Yuffie
This
was
is different.
doing it by herself,
One.
pretty much.
Yeah, one Yuffie.
Yeah, but was it Yuffie plus 2 chainers that were chaining something
No,
up?
they were just doing one Yuffie.
Just one Yuffie.
One Yuffie's LB was if someone built her strong enough, one Yuffie by herself was destroying Greg Kai. A single one. Only her LB after everyone's other buffs and debuffs and all that stuff. Just her. It was ridiculous. But anyways, if we take a look at her kit, she's got some pretty nice things in it.
Yeah,
To me,
she's got
I look at her and I compare her to Sabin. Because Stardust
sure.
Array, and she basically adds elementals to herself at 6-star.
Yes, and she's got dual cast at 6-star too.
Which makes her very viable as 6-star for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Um,
and she can
But
unlock triple cast at 6-star as
however,
well.
she chains a single target enemies.
yep.
That's the and she does AOE damage at 7 star.
Yeah,
Basically,
and her imperils are better, but she doesn't imbue herself at the 7-star moves. So she's pretty good. I mean, her chaining families are way better than Zack's. I mean, you got Stardust Ray, Bolting Strike, Aerial Array, all top tier chaining families, whereas the chaining families for Zack were just bottom of the barrel terrible, honestly.
And similar to how Sabin works, you would typically imbue her with an element you want, and that what you do afterwards is unlock her cooldown from Come On and use Stardust Ray or Slashing Dance, which is another Stardust Ray chaining with a 16 times modifier, which is her huge damage modifier.
Yeah,
So you can't really complain about that.
right.
Um, she can be a finisher too because she has a 21 times modifier for that is also unlocked with Slashing Dance. But in my opinion, her LB is way better, so there's no point in actually using this.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's fine. Like if you don't have your LB up, but you do have that up, you can do it.
you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying I think it's better to use the Stardust Ray because you decrease you break yourself while doing it, and then I mean she's not really that tanky to begin with.
Right.
I guess it's better than like Regina or CG Jake, where they basically bring down their everything 90%. She only destroys her defense by 30%, and it is a decent multiplier. So also single hit, but yeah, not bad. I would think that most people would probably just stick to the Stardust Array though. Her passives are extremely strong. She does have some physical evasion, thank God for ninjas, right?
Mm-hmm.
She gets increased modifiers to a lot of her skills. Greased Lightning, Catan, Raiton, and Suiton, which are I think believe yeah her 7-star chainers. What the heck is
Unlike Zack, all of her chaining families are either growing or very consistent chaining families in the game right
Yeah.
now.
what's Greased Lightning?
Yep.
Oh,
It's yeah.
okay. I don't know why anybody uses Greased Lightning,
It's
but it's
her
there.
first skill. Yeah, her first skill.
The only reason I could ever see anyone using Greased Lightning is actually I have no idea because it's
I mean, if you want to use her as a finisher, sure.
Yeah, it's a 5 times mod with consecutively increasing. So it's actually a building finisher. So if
So,
you
I
at
mean,
at
can she
120
tap her
it
own
would be
chains
three
with it?
times.
That's the question.
Probably not. I don't believe that she was ever a chain um, topper with herself.
but it seems the way it seems like they want to do that, and basically adding a 3 times modifier on top of it is actually pretty
Yeah, it
strong.
makes it makes it really strong.
Yeah.
So she's a clear chain finisher from the start. You know.
She is clearly better than Zack. I'm sorry.
Yep, she beats him out in every way. He is definitely the troll in this banner.
Unless you are just a Zack fanboy, and I
Yeah,
don't know why anybody would be, but whatever.
Eh, I mean, like, Crisis Core is a great game, so I won't like say anything bad about Zack because he's a decent character actually. He's a very straightforward character, unlike Cloud, who's basically muddy waters. But I don't know. I can't complain. Um, yeah. Her LB is really strong. She hates birds, like most people who use throwing weapons. Just they hate birds for some reason. Because there was what
Yep.
Waka.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who else hates birds? Did Locke hate birds? I can't remember.
yes, he does.
I mean, it has Bird Killer on it. Really know if he had Bird Killer in his kit.
Yep.
He's a really old unit, remember?
Yeah.
So
I think that more has to do with the weapon type than it is the unit.
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. But you could have just added it to the weapon and not the unit, but they added it to both.
Yeah.
So she hates birds. Oh,
Just like bows also do have similar attributes. So
yeah, they usually have bird killer, yeah.
yep.
And then other killers too, if you get some
Hmm.
the killer bows. But yeah, their banner comes from Yuffie's hometown, the Dai Chao statue.
Well, it's yeah.
Da Chao or Dai Chao or however you pronounce
No,
it.
it's Da Chow, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's part of her old side quest anyway. But so it's a raid, and you want to maximize your damage for extra bonus coinage because
Hmm.
pulling on the raid summons is going to give you, the standard, all Moogles, the Moogles for the FF7 characters on this banner. So Yuffie, Zack, Barrett, and Kate said it's not going to give you Moogles for, the other FF7 characters.
Yep.
But again, you'll get that elusive 4-star ticket, and
As for the raid boss, if you wanna maximize damage, the enemy is a dragon type, and weak to earth. So take advantage of that anyhow you want to. But you're trying to get max damage, which is about a billion,
yeah, it's a billion.
a billion damage. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe two chain unison or a strong finisher will help you out. Whoever you take is up to you.
Yep.
Um, Notable units would be Regina because she can apply Dragon Killer, Aang as well for the same reason, and Duke because he hates fucking dragons.
Yeah. Just Duke's gonna be a 2-turner guy.
Yeah, but you could still
Aang's
get it
Aang.
accomplished.
I don't know if Aang will have.
His
I mean,
LB.
yeah, we get to 2-turn it that way. But I'm talking about using his cooldown,
Hmm.
which I believe does damage.
I mean,
Forget.
I'm lazy. I just use Regina
Yeah, same here.
and cap the chain.
But yeah, as for the rewards in the raid event, you've got Curse Ring, which gives you 20 flat magic and attack, and it has an effect of impending death, which increases your HP by 20%, but also deals damage to you at the beginning of the battle and anytime you are
Revive.
revived.
Screw that ring, in my opinion.
Yeah, that ring kind of sucks. I mean, 20% HP is not terrible for someone who's just starting, but if you've been around a while, there's a lot of 20% HP rings that you can get
I'd rather
Yep.
that
deal with
are
10%
not going to kill
HP
you.
and not deal with the damage you take. It's just too much of a
Well, the
ban.
damage you take isn't terrible. It's the only problem is if you die and use a uh, Phoenix down to resurrect you, you
Or a
might not
regular
have enough
revive.
HP. Yeah, you might not have enough HP to survive the damage proc, which is
So here's the weird thing about this, right? The weirdest thing I think about this ring is that as you increase your HP, that 20% is a larger number, right? So it will be most useful on a tank. However, and because the impending death damage is a fixed amount, it basically does less and less damage to a more and more tank unit. However, the
yes,
passive the benefit is that it has is attack and magic. It has nothing to do for a tank, so
right.
it's completely pointless
Yep.
I
unless you have
just
a very tanky attacking unit.
I just hate the fact that you're gonna have to deal with the fact that you can't use any um, revives other than something that does 80% pretty much. Because
Or
taking
higher, yeah.
2k damage on a damage dealer is massive. Because most of them have about
Maybe
8k. How much is 2,000 of 8k?
yeah.
That's way over 20%.
More than 10%.
No, that's more than 20%. 2k off of.
Well, no, I know, but I think the like Phoenix down resurrects you with like 10% HP.
Yeah, which would kill you instantly. Which is
Mm-hmm.
why I think it's a bad item. Not to mention the fact that it's one of those things that just are annoying to deal with. So it's just easier to say, give me 10% HP and I don't have to deal with that annoyance.
Well,
I am going to craft 10 of
no.
these, and no, I'm telling you, I'm going to craft 10 of these, slap them all on my arena units, hopefully give them a Delta Delita's STMR, and have fun.
Oh, you mean watch yourself die over and over and over again? First
Yeah.
turn deaths over and over and over again.
No,
That's
I'm putting that for the opponent, like basically I'm letting them know I'm ready to die.
You're letting them win, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
And
so
even
okay.
worse, put them on
Whatever.
yeah,
feeble.
let's move on to the
Speaking
peace ring. Which
speaking of other bad items, Peace
th-
Ring's pretty terrible too.
this one is not bad.
It's not
Yes, it is.
terrible. It's
It's
not
not
terrible.
terrible. No,
35 flat spirits, okay. A peaceful mind, come on. If it's not 100%, it might as well be 0.
it's better than nothing.
It's
It's
not
And
gonna
better than
work.
nothing. There are
the,
people who
the
give 50% resistance as well to this, so it'll be 75, which
yep.
is
And
decent.
you
And again,
also
it's the same
remember
thing.
that when you have enemies, sometimes they break your resistance maybe by 30%. And this on somebody playing the game, this is actually really good because a lot of the other content, if they do break, can be anything much more than this or even this. So
I
that's fine.
A0. I
Yep.
understand what you're trying to say, but you cut out pretty bad. My biggest
Okay.
problem with so what he was saying was it's useful just because you have a chance of not getting broken, even if it is small. It's high enough spirit because it is better than a lot of what we have in the game already. That the spirit break is a nice addition. It's not the best thing in the world.
Right.
But I really wish that this was not the main quote unquote item for this banner because you can only make one. If you could make two, this would be a much better item in my opinion.
I
Because
agree.
50% is way more viable than 25%, and there are units that come built in with 50% break resistance.
Yep. And
So
as well, there's not many flat spirit items that give any more than 30%. So 35 is a extremely minor increase, but it's still there.
it's still there, exactly. That's why I'm like, this is a okay item. I have better spirit items, so I won't be using it, but I could see a lot of new people using it, especially for magic tanks.
Yep.
The Shinra Alpha, this
Garbage.
is even for newbies, this is kind of pointless. You get better stuff in the beginning. The belt that gives you 10% HP is better than this item.
Yep.
The standard issue sword is worth making. I would make a few of them. Man Eater is
If
the
you go.
reason you make this.
Yeah. And
That is
that's
that is the only reason because the damage is meh at best,
mm,
but
yeah.
Man Eater is extremely useful to have, especially if you have to fight a human boss,
Yep.
Yep.
like early
And
Gilgamesh, for example, for new
this
people.
is by far the best item in this, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
That's not saying much
Oh no, it's not.
because the
Again,
items in this raid are pretty terrible.
when you're saying that a passable item is one of the better items, yes, this is not a very good raid, but neither was the last one. I'm sorry, but the last few raids, they've not they've not kept up with the current equipment in the game at all. They've kind of just they've actually probably have
No,
decreased in my opinion compared to
the
before because
last
what was the last one?
the items in the last raid were good because they
Oh,
gave
wait, the
you
mana.
resistances.
Yeah, I forgot about the secret mana. I was thinking of the one before.
Those items were good. So to say that they were bad is
Sorry,
wrong.
my brain was thinking of the previous raid, which was I made 0 of those items.
But again, that's the kind of item that you're looking for now in a raid item because the raid items from you know the midweek or the mid event bosses for like a King Mog event, the items that the rewards are usually not like top tier, you know, weapons or armors. They for them to be good, they need to be niche. So they need to cover something like elemental resistances or status effects or something other than just having, you know, raw stats on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Except for Spirit's the only raw stat that I don't mind, and that's because there aren't really many options to get Spirit for raw resistance.
But anyway, the biggest part of this week is we got a new trial type.
We had the re-release of the Arm Egg Geddon.
Yeah.
Yes, I know I say it
Such a
poorly
terrible
because
name.
it. Yeah, I agree. It's such a bad pun. It's really bad. Anyways, this is a battle that's going to take you a while to do.
Yeah.
Mainly because you have to build multiple teams.
And the fact that it's one ideal unit for DPS for this event, and it's Esther.
Uh,
Most of
Aurora
the other,
Frivia is not bad as long as you use her non-elemental abilities and put an elemental weapon on her.
you have to use lightning though. That's the thing.
That's fine. There are lightning swords out there if you build her with attack.
Yeah. I mean, don't build her with magic because he's got a lot of spirit. Like 5,000, a lot of spirit. So, I mean, and the thing that's new about this new type of event or new type of boss is there's extra challenges that give you rewards for using different units. So, you bring your first party in, you get the missions for using 5 different ones. Now, to get anything higher, you have to use different units. So that means you have to come up with, either 5 totally new teams or do it, however many times it takes you to get all the missions. And the rewards are pretty good. I mean, you go down tons of pots. You get Trust Moogles. In Pro, you get a 4-star ticket for 4-star EX ticket for beating all the missions in Pro. Elite gives you a 5-star ticket, and you get a lot of the equipment from the boss, which is also pretty good. And then in Legendary, you get STMR tickets and a emblem at the end.
Question: how many percentages do these tickets give? Is it 1%? Is it 5%? Is it 10%?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you knew or not.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I think it was 1% anyway.
Oh wow,
So
that's
5%,
pretty weak.
but it could be different in global. We don't know. That's the reason. But the rewards for beating the boss are actually very good. If you go in and do the elite, you're gonna get, and you do 2 or more limit bursts, you get Warrior's Might. Warrior's Might is 60% attack with a great sword. That's very good. It's a solid materia. Then you also go into Legendary, and there's something called Electrifying Might, which is 80% attack when equipped with a lightning weapon. That's also very good. That's 80% attack. With the only thing is you have to use a lightning weapon, but it could be any weapon. It's not locked to like a great sword or a sword or anything that a lot of these materias are. So those are the materias from this. There's also 3 gear pieces that are also very good, and they also give you passives that are set bonuses basically.
I would definitely say the weakest is, of course, the first one, which is the Catastrophic Bracer.
Yeah.
That it has a 15 attack, 10 defense, and 15 spirit with 15% earth resistance. It gets a nice little bonus for having the crown. Yes, just the crown. You don't need both. With attack and spirit up 20%. I mean, if it's free gear, who can complain, right?
No. I mean, this even on by itself, it's good because it gives you earth resistance.
Yeah.
While also giving you attack stats and a little bit of bulk as well. So
I
it's not
definitely
bad.
prefer the crown. The crown is definitely a much better item. It's
Oh yeah.
definitely
But
massively
it's
increased.
harder to get.
Well, yeah, of course it is. But attack
The bracer
24.
is by far the worst piece that you can get.
Yeah.
But
That's the
the
highest free hat. When I say free, I mean non-TMR hat. is
Hmm.
this catastrophic crown at 24
Mhm.
attack, 10, 20 defense, and 24 spirit with 15% HP. That's massive amounts of HP. You have earth resistance 30%, petrify resistance 50%, which is not amazing, but it's still useful to have. And then catastrophic set, which is 20% attack and spirit when equipped with the vest.
Yep. This is extremely good. I mean, you can throw this anytime you're gonna need Earth for a fight. This is going on your damage dealer, 100%. I mean, you could even throw this on a tank and it's still good.
Dang,
Yep.
even this light armor is really good. I didn't realize how good the light armor was. It's 30
I know.
attack, 50 defense, 30 spirit, 15% HP. This is better than Knight Delita's TMR.
Yep.
Is
Yep.
it?
It's
These are
15%. It's exactly the same percentage. It's just a little less defense, but it's got 30 attack. This is massively good.
Yeah. No, this
30%
is really
earth,
really good.
50%
Just
petrify. And then, of course, if you wear catastrophic bracer, you get an attack and spirit 40%.
so if you add all the catastrophic stuff together, what's the total stat?
80%.
80% attack spirit.
Right, attack. And
Yep.
yeah,
The total
full,
attack 30 plus
full
15 plus
resistance to
24.
petrify.
So 54 plus 15, 69, 69 attack on those three
Yeah. I
items.
mean, this is very good. I mean, the bracer is
It's mainly good to make the armor better.
yeah.
These items are a definite upgrade from the tectonic set that we had to craft in the Easter event. So you know, in addition to having those, these are real.
Yeah. I mean,
If going against this boss in particular as well.
In my
these
opinion, the biggest benefit to this event is the fact that it's not time limited. You can take your time.
mhm.
It's just like any
And
trial, but it's a
yeah,
repeatable one, pretty much.
with a lot of people it's gonna take time because it's not easy. It gets hard when you're trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get units to perform the roles that you need to finish the fight. Because I mean, it's kind of specific because there's a lot of things that the boss does that makes it hard to try and do it otherwise, and then the boss also imperils you to, I think it's 200% on
Yeah,
Earth
200
resistance.
earth resist. Yep.
So you
So
need either a character that can absorb that 200% resistance debuff, or you need someone who can handle taking the 200% with
yeah, which
earth
means you
magic.
need 300% Earth resistance pretty much with a buff.
With a buff, yeah. You can get away with it without a buff, but it'll be much more difficult than you probably
Yeah,
would hope to do.
you'll take a ton of damage if you're not at a 300% because he also has AOE magic that's non-elemental that will hit you anyway.
Yeah,
And
it'll
he
do
even
lots of
even
damage.
broken. And again, like it's not necessarily like you might think you have a really good team, and you might have a really good team. But again, you bring that good team to beat it the first time, and you're like, oh, that's not that bad. But you do it two or three more times, and you realize that wow, it is a lot harder when you're trying to bring weaker units to do it.
Well, the problem is that most people are probably going to do is they're going to take an extremely strong team the first time they do it. So they're going to
Yep.
bring out all the best units. Like they're going to bring out Sylvie, they're going to bring out Esther, they're going to bring out their best magic tank, they're going to bring out their best provoke, they're bring out like their 70 to 75% breaker, and they'd be like Shazam, and he's gone.
Yep. And oh, that was easy. Now you're stuck with at by the time you get to the bottom to get use 25 units to get some of these rewards, and the 25 for elite is a 5-star EX ticket. So I mean,
So
yeah, it's an EX ticket, but it's a good reward.
the
It's a free
most
five
common
star.
thing you're going to change is going to be your damage dealer, because how many magic tanks are going to be able to get their earth resistance up high enough and be able to
A lot
take
of
the
them.
amount of damage that it can take.
I mean,
So
it's
like
it comes a lot to your gear. I mean,
I understand, but the problem is they still have to have the HP to handle the non-elemental AoE magic.
Yep. Yep.
So it's a combination of building it to A, have a lot of earth resistance, and B, have enough HP to handle the non-elemental damage, which is
Yep.
when you are going to run into trouble. So you're probably going to be stuck to suffering with a 6-star tank, like you did
Yep.
with Awaken Rain, or you're going to have how many 7-star tanks, magic tanks, are there really available for this?
Yeah, and let's just say you're using 5 different units each time. So that means you, at a minimum, are doing this 5 times.
Which means you
At
need
minimum.
5 strong magic tanks,
Yep.
which is hard to do. Like
And
I can think
how
of
many?
like
How many are there? Like, you got
Awaken
Awaken
Rain,
Rain,
White Knight Noel,
White Knight Noel, Chow,
Charlotte,
Charlotte, Merc Ramza.
and Merc Rams is kind of it's
If he dies, you're screwed.
well
Yeah, if he
oh
dies, you're
yeah
screwed.
because he does have that 3 turn it's down. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. Unless he dies on turn 3, you are screwed.
Hmm. But yeah, I mean, what is it? That's 5 there, and I think there was one other one. Barrel.
Barrel. Okay, so there's 6 magic tanks. It means
There's 6 magic tanks at 7
that
star. Now, and at 6, I mean, at ones that are 6-star max, so like that, we're talking about a 4-star unit. You're looking at Mystia
which probably doesn't have the
and
HP to
Shilt.
survive, and
Right.
probably also doesn't have the
Same.
HP to survive unless you have a crap ton of massive HP, like
Yep.
STMR type things, where like 50% here, 50% there.
Hmm.
But you're still gonna
So.
have a rough time because their HP is pitiful compared to
Hmm.
a 7-star tank.
So when doing these fights, what I would recommend is not to bring all your all-star team at once. So what I would do is I would pair your best tank with your worst other
Support.
unit. Because I mean, the basic of, with this fight is you need a good AOE, an AOE magic tank that's got 300% Earth
The
resistance.
ability to get really high earth resistance with a buff.
Then you basically need a provoke tank with evade.
Which is actually, if you can have a friend to do it, it's pretty
Yeah.
you can get multiple units that fairly easy. Well, when I say fairly easy, I mean it's actually difficult if you don't have the evasion gear, but everybody can get. There's enough evasion gear out there where everybody can get 100%
Yeah,
evasion,
because
even if they have 0% base.
yeah, and the main problem and why you need evasion almost 100%. I mean, it can be done without it, but it's very difficult. Is he has a move that does a ton of damage and will just pick off units, and you can use it more than once. It's called execute, and it will, if you're not 100% evade, it will hit you, and it'll hit you for like 40,000.
So, Pablo over here had a good question. He was asking if auto revive strats would work for weaker magic tanks. And the problem is the fact that he's not consistent in his damage. So it'd be very difficult to be able to tell you if you could survive or not because you will have
Okay, and
times.
there's two other caveats with that. But when you finish, I'll.
So
I mean,
you have to
auto revive
survive.
could work.
Auto revive is it's a magic skill. If you have it as an ability, you can use that on your healer for the provoke tank. However, if you choose to, you can use that time limited thing that we got for I can't remember the other version of Leo, the Ankh goddess that you usually put re-raise on yourself, but it would mean that you would have to take up a accessory stick to put
Yeah.
that on, and that's pretty
Yeah.
difficult in this fight, right?
Well, the biggest problem is the fact that you still have to survive after your tank dies, and there still
Yeah.
could be
And
magic AoE attacks that are going to hit your entire team
yeah,
after
because
your
that's the
magic tanks die.
problem.
Because he doesn't just hit once; he hits over
Yeah.
and over and over, and they're separate attacks. So they'll die, be resurrected, and still take damage from the attack
And
hitting
still die. I
afterwards.
mean, even your tank could still die
a second
get
time.
resurrected, and then die again. And that happened to me when I was trying to do it with um, Awaken Rain, who I only have at 6-star. I don't have a 7-star Awaken Rain. And the last time I did it, my team was almost entirely 6-star units, with the exception of Esther.
That's one of the
Uh,
reasons why I recommend probably the easiest way of beating this is by swapping out your damage, because as long as you can survive it, you can beat it.
yeah,
Yep.
it's just gonna take you a long time.
It's
That's the
just
only
gonna
thing.
If you carry a pair of Esters, it's honestly it's just gonna take you. You got to do it more times, but it's honestly much safer because you're gonna kill him much faster. Right, less RNG, less prolonging the battle, less problem.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You could probably get away with it in Pro and Elite, but yeah, Legend is its own monster.
yeah. I mean, and when I did it, because I made a team and then beat Pro Elite and Legendary, and then made a new team and then did Pro Elite. That's how I did it. Just to make it easier, so you're not really re-gearing multiple different. You're gearing the team once to do all three, rather than doing Pro with one team, gearing a new team, doing Pro again.
Well, I think it's more the fact that you can leave Elite, you can leave Legend for later if you can't
Yeah,
do
if you
it.
can do Legendary, I mean that same team will be able to beat Pro and Elite pretty easily.
No, I mean
Um,
as in like you can finish Pro and Elite to get all the stuff like the 5-star EX ticket and stuff like that, and then when you have more options later down the road, you can do Legendary. Yes, that is a
yep,
very good option.
yeah, and I found out myself. I figured I had, you know, a solid allotment of breakers, and I ended up running out of breakers. And you need a breaker for this fight. You need
60
a breaker with
plus
at
is recommended.
least 60%, because he's gonna melt your magic tank if you don't break him 60% or more.
Okay, with your best magic tank, could you take a less than 60%?
Maybe. I
That
don't know.
that's what I meant by pairing options. Like if you have a really
Yeah, oh no,
crappy
no, yeah.
breaker, you can match it with a really fantastic tank.
Yeah, I mean,
In
if
other
you can
ways,
build them high enough,
it
maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. All I know is
it'll be fun
my
to play
7th
around
star
with.
Mark Ramza was getting melted. It took me a few times to beat it with him. He was getting melted even with 60% breaks, and so was Awaken Rain, but he was at 6-star, so that's kind of expected. But it
But yeah,
was it was definitely, it gets hard to put a team out there that can beat him. When you're doing it your 4th or 5th time or 6th time or whatever.
so
And
a quick side note is his probably most annoying feature is the fact that he's basically 100% resistant to all elements except for lightning, which is at 50% plus. That means you have no advantages of using elemental damage in this battle unless you can break higher than 50%, which of course a lot of people can. They can do 80% or 100% or 75% with some of them, but you're going to be stuck on that element. So, for
yep,
example, if you are using, because they are getting a nice boost because they get a 30% jump in parameters, you have Aurora Fryvia and Fryvia herself. If you're going to chain them together to do their disorder skill, you're going to hurt and damage because though Aurora Fryvia can knock down 100% light, which means they're at zero, Fryvia can only do 75% to ice, which means that's a that's a 25% chunk loss in damage.
yep,
So non-elemental is an option. It might be a better option for you if you don't have a good lightning break or you're not using lightning at all.
yep.
It just,
And magic damage is almost not an option in this fight because he's got like 5,000 spirit. So
I mean, it can be braked, but it's
physical.
much better to do physical.
Yeah, but even if you break him, I mean, again, you're bringing him down to what? Still 2 or 3, 2,000, maybe a little bit under 2,000 spirit.
Yeah, let's look at it with lid. So if we take the calculator, the fancy dancy calculator, let's take 5,000. Let's divide that. Let's multiply it by 75%. That's 3,075. So if you subtract that by 5,000, that's 1,250 spirit. So
That's a lot.
it's still really big and it's still going to be really rough, but you could get away with it. Again, like I said, the thing you're going to have the least worries about is probably the damage. As long as you can survive, you can win.
Yep. I mean, and honestly, it's not necessarily going to be your first time going through where this might be hard, because he's not hard if you can take the damage. It really isn't, and the problem is going to come when you are running out of, say, tanks to do it, and you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. That's why we are ultimately recommending that, you might have you might have the shiny new CG Charlotte. She's a great tank. Use her, and then have the rest of your team be kind of like your subpar units, like your subpar breaker. Like maybe you're using, 7-star Ramza with enhanced brakes, so that you can do attack and magic by 50%, by 60% as your breaker, because
I
by
don't
the
know.
time you end up doing it.
Taking your Beowulf, which is a
I
weaker
did use
breaker
my
too.
Beowulf, my 6-star Beowulf. He worked out great.
I'm just saying, like, don't use your best breaker like Lid or Lauren or Aaron, stuff like that. You're gonna
Yeah.
probably want to focus more on your weaker stuff with your stronger tanks.
Mhm.
And your
Yeah,
provoke,
same thing.
you're kind of stuck using evade, which means you might need friends if you can't do evade yourself. That's
Yep.
probably going to be the biggest problem, which is why I was like, damage dealers are going to be the least your worries with this event.
Yeah.
You of course don't want to do things like put a damage unit that does ice without a freaking break because you'll do no damage. But if you have someone with a break, it can at least get them below 100%. You will do damage, even though it might take a bit. You can still beat the enemy as long as you can survive.
Yep. And another thing, make sure when you get him down to under 50 and he goes into his hard-boiled mode, you
Dispel
have to
them.
dispel him that turn, because if you don't, he'll absolutely annihilate you.
Which means you need to dispel and reapply his brakes on the same
Yep.
turn. If you
On the
don't
same
do
turn.
that, you will hurt. Which means you can't have your tank be your dispeller unless you can keep up your
Mhm.
tankiness while doing it. For example,
Yeah, but I mean, again, you don't. There's no. Uh, you can use items. You can use a holy torch, so anybody can be a dispeller.
true.
And I mean, honestly, that's what I was doing. I was using holy torches to dispel,
I know,
because it
but
was the easiest way to do it.
I've
And
dealt with a lot of people that will dispel using units that they need to do other things with because they don't expect to happen. And if you don't time it properly, like for example, like I was saying, if your tank is also your dispeller, for example, you put on what's that sword that gives you dispel?
Oris
Or a
sword or
sword, yeah,
whatever,
or a sword, yeah, I think
or
that's what it
or
was.
Bushet of Freedom even.
Yeah, if you put that on your tank,
You might end up to
because
the point where you need to reapply your cover or provoke
and you might need to dispel. So
dispel.
if you're gonna do that, you need to make sure you reapply your cover before you have to break or dispel. And you definitely cannot put your dispel on your breaker because if you do that, you've just screwed yourself.
Hmm.
I only
But
say it that way because I've done it before, and
yeah,
you can mock me
no,
all
I
you
mean,
want.
again, the good thing about this event or trial is it's cheap. Yep, yeah, Merc Ramses LB works. The only I mean, honestly, I would 100% bring holy torches with you, because that way, because when it happens, you can't do damage to him anyway. So
Oh
As
yeah,
use your
long as
you can
damage
use your
dealer means
damage dealers to do it. That's what I was doing. I mean, I was using my Esther to holy torch him, and then you can use your breaker to reapply breaks. Your tanks are free to do what they need to do, and same goes for your healer.
yep, can buff, can heal, can do whatever.
Right. I mean, and that's kind of what the what's important. Dispelling is also important, but again, um, for what is it? I think it's 3 turns after you get across 50%. You can't do any damage, so your damage dealer is kind of stuck there doing nothing.
You need a provoke tank.
Yeah, you need a provoke tank. Ideally, evade if you can.
Mainly because he has this move called
Execute.
Execute, which is a terrible name. But if you look right here, it's fixed damage of 99,999. And he
Which
will
Was it
can
hit
on the
this
be.
wall?
multiple times.
Yep.
He can cast this multiple times. Even in the lower trials, he can cast this multiple times.
And I've actually seen. I feel like it happens more on Elite than it does on Legendary, but I mean that just might be, random luck.
But yeah, if you look at what happens, he starts casting Execute. It says 5% HP, but I remember. Oh, wait. It happens in turn 5, then turn 10, and then turn 15, 20, 25. So if you don't kill it fast, you will get nailed by it. And again, he can do it more than once. And that means if you don't have an evasion tank, you're gonna die. And you're gonna lose a lot of people. You need AoE re-raise, basically.
Yep. And the problem, and your provoke tank, if you can't do 100% evade, you probably should do 100% innate provoke, so that when he does die and comes back up with a re-raise, he's gonna take a second shot if there is one, which is good.
Which means even when you like after he's died from the re-raise, you can bring him back, and he'll still be provoking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really disgusting.
It should be able to be. You should be able to dodge it with Mirage.
Yes, Mirage does work against it, but then
Yeah,
again,
but again,
he does more
it's
than just that. He does a lot of random stuff.
because he might hit you with physical attacks and then hit you with execute, or he. I mean,
So
it's not like he's
if
gonna
you
do
use
it.
a scramble, it'll clear every Mirage you have. And that's
Yeah.
still a really huge multiplier. 8 times modifier to one enemy. That's still really huge.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, Destroyer Shell's only at the beginning, right?
What's destroy shell? I forget.
It's the one that makes everyone's HP go down to like 1%.
Oh yeah. That's the beginning. That's
So,
fine because it actually ends up making giving everybody an LB.
well, no,
Full
I
LB.
was just making sure it doesn't happen more than once, so that people don't have to worry about it.
No, he has an ability that does when you get him to under 50, he'll kind of do a similar move and then stop, and he'll cast his.
Oh, it says it's under 60%, so he does it again.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he only does it once. He only does that once. He'll do hard boiled, and he does hit you with that attack. So yeah, I mean,
Mirage is good,
for this,
but the only character that you could probably ever like not have a full evasion provoke tank and be able to handle it is probably Fallen, which is sad. I don't think I've ever recommended Fallen for anything because he has the ability to stack mirages on top of himself. I think he can stack up to 5.
Yeah, with like a lot of them too.
I think it's 5.
Problem is, if they run out, you're gonna have to.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, he's not a very tanky tank, if that makes sense.
The other issue is that I think Fallen also does not have any innate provoke, so you cannot build him 100% provoke.
Innately.
Let me check.
Oh, he doesn't even have 100%.
No, it's 75%.
Which means you need to have Moogle plushie or something, yeah.
Yeah, there's Moogle plushie, that's right. Yeah, he does not have the ability to build a fully, like, tank or hit me right off the bat.
Tank, yeah. Which is fine. I mean, if you can get him to be evasion, and I think he's got.
He does have an 8 evasion, yes. That's why I was like, he might be okay.
So he is easier to build for 100% than most tanks. But again, what you're looking for in a. I mean, a lot of units can be a provoke tank because we have Moogle plushie, we have the what is it, wrapped gift.
And then we also
So
have Golem.
right, and Golem's provoke is I think 70%.
It is
So
70%. So all you
Golem's
need is
provoke plus Moogle plushie is going to give you 100%.
Pablo. Where did it cut off? Did you get the point where we were talking about how it can be basically it can be dodged with Mirage, but it cannot be. Um, Mirage only has so many turns. Usually, what is it? Once to three times,
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
depending
Well,
on
like
who has it.
so, yeah, I think he's thinking of using like Sarah or maybe Bart.
Oh,
Bart's a good provoke tank, by the way, because he's got 30% evasion,
by the
and
way,
he's got 100% provoke.
Awakened he does have a Fallen is 100%,
Oh, okay.
and he negates three physical damage for 2 turns. So his
Yeah.
provoke is also gives you Mirage every time.
I believe he also counters Mirage too or something.
Yeah, he's probably one of the easier to build. The problem is you have to awaken him, which of course costs way too many crysts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a
I
problem.
mean, unfortunately, this while being good that it's forcing us to use new units, you're gonna have to enhance some of these units to use them.
Like Beatrix.
Yeah, I mean Beatrix or Prompto. I mean, I was looking at using Prompto last night, trying to find a breaker that broke attack and magic by 60, and I was like really close to being like, you know what? I'm just gonna enhance my 6-star Prompto, his magic and attack break, and use him.
Which I would be fine with if crysts weren't so hard to get in the game. And
Yeah,
I know we complained about this last time, but please, Gumi, give us more options for getting crysts. That is all. um, so this week has been a pretty good week. I think Executioner is a great event that has been introduced to global, and I hope that we get more of these events. They do increase the value of the game because they do force us to not get stuck in, oh, we're just going to use the main meta characters, and I appreciate it. If you don't
yep,
want to do it, you don't have to do it. I mean, you can get the best things out of it by only doing it, what, twice each. Not even in legendary. You don't
yeah,
have to do legendary to get the best. Oh wait, you do want to do legendary because of that material, but still.
yeah. I mean, but you can use your best team to go in and get your materia and then go.
And then get out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You,
exactly.
you don't you don't have to go and get all the STMR tickets, even though it would be useful to get them.
Hmm.
And I have no idea how much those STMR tickets are worth. We will find that out later when they actually give us the banner to use it.
Yep. Yeah, we don't know,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. But I mean, again, STMR tickets are probably going to be rare, so getting 5 is pretty good.
Well, yeah, but we don't know if it's 1% or 5% because 1%'s. I mean, it's gonna take freaking forever to get one STMR. And I really wish
Yeah.
people would have voted for the STMR tickets.
Well, we don't know what one yet. We don't know what one yet.
Would have been nice to get a 100% STMR.
Yeah, would have.
I
But
was
we still
thinking,
could.
I know, but I was looking at that going, who would I do? I'm like, oh, I would do this person. I knew instantly who I'd put it on. But yeah, um, so that's pretty much all we have this week. Feel free to join us. We talk way too much FFBE already in our chat, so feel free to join us in chat. We actually do talk in chat, like physically talk rather than typing all the time. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can always join in and listen and type if you want. We do have people that do that as well. Our Discord is below. Um, Anything else you guys want to add to the conversation?
No, I think we're
Um,
good.
just the thinking about what's looking forward to the to the near future. We most likely might be getting Final Fantasy 13 event with Lightning next week, maybe, very likely. And
Probably.
the following week, we definitely will be getting Elena, the story event, the CG exclusive unit, global story event. So be looking forward to that. I hope you save up some lapis if you definitely are going for her. And
If you
um,
didn't, you don't have to worry. She is UOCable as far as we know.
yep,
So if you
she is
cannot
UOCable.
get her and you do still want her, then you can UOC her. The tickets currently, if unless they change it to what JP
Yep,
has, they become less valuable later on. But of course, they've been holding our tickets hostage for a while, so maybe they won't do what JP did.
Yep. And Elena's probably going to be busted. Just, you know,
I mean, like most global units, like
yeah.
Esther was busted as heck. Sylvie
Xeno's
is
busted.
Xeno's busted. Sylvie's busted. Aurora Fravia when she came out was very overpowered, but Global made some leaps and bounds in damage to make
yep.
her fall off pretty heavily. I hope they give her a little bit of loving with these um,
Well, from what we know, she's going to be a
damage
hybrid
dealers.
damage dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah, hybrid damage
If you
with
haven't
some buffing capabilities.
if you haven't noticed, Global likes their hybrids. Got the Fravia, the Aurora Fravia. They got the
I mean, that's fine. I like hybrids.
Malphys. Who else do we have that's hybrid? I don't know. We have way more hybrids than JP. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna hang around for a while if you want to keep chatting it up, but I'm gonna stop the recording now.